How you guys doing? This is Jason with Tuna Tech, and I'm back with a phone that's new, but has some sentimental value to this guy and this channel. Okay, we're in the midst of Techtober, and I just released a video on the Realme GT 8 Pro. There's the Oppo, there's Vivo, there's iQOO, there's OnePlus. There's a wealth of phones coming out, most of which are on the upper end. But one of these companies, Xiaomi, released a 17 Pro Max. Now, I don't have that today, but they do have a sub-brand called Poco. And today, we're going to unbox and take a quick look at the Poco F8 Ultra. Why is this sentimental to me, like I said at the beginning of the video? Well, I made a video. You can go back through my channel. It's one of the first videos. I want to say probably 3 years ago, maybe a little more. I did an unboxing of one of the earlier Poco devices, one of the first actually, I think, and it got a lot of views, and it was kind of popular for the time. Now, I haven't had a Poco for a little while. I had a Poco just a little, maybe last year, but it was more of a mid-range device. This is more squarely aimed at becoming a flagship and or flagship killer. Why do I say that? Well, looking at the box, you wouldn't expect anything less from Poco, black and yellow. And as you can see, there's a little thing here that says sound by Bose. That's one of the first clues you should know that this is kind of a different kind of phone, but it does come with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5, which again is the mobile processor to beat right now, that and the MediaTek 9500. It comes with either 12 gigs, 256 storage, or 16 gig 512 storage, and this is LPDDR5X and UFS 4.1 for your fastest speeds. And just a quick look at this. This is the 16 gig 512 in a unique color. They come in just two colors, denim blue and black. And the most popular one is the denim blue. Not so much that it's real denim from what I hear. I haven't opened this yet, but it's got a denim look and kind of like a unique texture. So that's the basics of this thing. It's a 6.9 inch screen, AMOLED screen, so it's a 2608 by 1200, 120 hertz. It is not LPTO, I think, so it doesn't go down to what 1 hertz to 120. It goes, I think, 60 and 120, but still, this is not a maxed out flagship. I believe in the UK, this starts out right now with deals anywhere from like the 12 gig version for like 550 pounds to up to about 800 pounds for the maxed out version, which is this one right here. And that price is killer, especially for the 12 gig one, because nothing in that area can touch that price. But it's got a peak brightness of 3500, 12-bit color depth, 2560 hertz instant touch sampling, you know, basic stuff that you get from a flagship phone. So what else has it got? This is the big upgrade too. Now, something that I've always not been a big fan of Xiaomi and Poco, more Poco than Xiaomi, but being the sub-brand, they do have to skimp out on some things. This has a triple camera setup, a 50 megapixel main, a 50 megapixel telephoto, and a 50 megapixel wide. So in their press release, or the release of the phone itself, they did talk about how they want to make this aimed more at a traditional phone, not like gamer-esque or budget-esque, but more of a all-around good phone with really good cameras. It's got the Light Fusion 950 image sensor for the main sensor. It's a 1/131 sensor size, so I don't know if that's going to make a difference to you guys or not. I will tell you this, when it comes to megapixels and sensor size, that all helps. Obviously, the more you can work with, the better, but it all comes down to processing, and does Xiaomi/Poco have the proper processing, post-processing? It does do super macro mode. It does 8K 30 frames per second. It does 4K at 30 or 60, 1080p at 30 or 60, etc., etc. I don't know. The front camera is a 32 megapixel camera. Camera with 4K up to 4K 30. So interestingly enough, it doesn't do 4K 120 on the main sensors or 4K 60 on the front, but it does do 4K 30 if that's something you do. I'm not a big selfie guy, so probably won't be using that as much. But a lot of these new phones coming out, especially from Oppo and OnePlus, and even Xiaomi, are pushing 7,000 plus milliamp hours battery life, or batteries, which is super crazy. But in the box, you do get a, let's see, we have here a type A to C cable, and unlike Poco in the past, I don't see a charging brick, so it does not come with a charging brick. You do have your typical books, and like most Chinese phones, especially here in the US, this is really great, comes with a basic TPU case. This is all I really use anyways on most of my phones. I like them clear to show the color, but I'll use this until I can find something else. So the downside to owning these phones is you're not going to have a wealth or a bunch of shit when it comes to cases, so you're kind of stuck with what you got, or you go to AliExpress or Temu or eBay to find a case and wait a month for it to come in. So it does come with a case and a charging cable. It does do, this is a 65 milliamp hour battery, which is no slouch. It's silicon carbon. There's a 100 watt wired and 50 watt wireless and 22.5 watts reverse wireless charging. That's faster than most wireless chargers on normal phones today. So very interesting tech there. I'm not sure what you guys think, but that's pretty cool with me. It's got an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, AI face unlock. It supports NFC. It does dual SIM, as well as eSIM. And make sure before you import this, I know when you go to Poco's website, the global website, they will not let you buy it and send it to the US. The Amazon UK website rejects selling to the US. Your best bet is to find a store online that sells the global version to the US. You're going to pay a premium, or if you're like me, sometimes I'll go to the UK store. Now, the UK store is sold out last time I checked, but if you get the deal on their website, you can sign in, and you can have you can go to like go to Google, type in forwarding address, and you can set up a forwarding address where it'll get delivered to a UK address, and then it'll be shipped to you from there. There's a little bit of a premium, like I said, but I'll leave a link to their website in the description below if you're interested. This is killer for me because it's a good price, killer specs, and I haven't had a Poco for a while, and I'm hoping you guys, longtime viewers, check this out and get me some views because I'm excited for this. And the other thing is, it does Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6.0, but again, like most near flagship mid-range phones in these other countries, they don't come with ultra wideband for your location tracking and tags and some of your newer vehicles and cars like Tesla. But on the front of this thing here, it says Poco F8 Snapdragon mobile processor, the battery size, the main camera sensor, and then the 6.9 inch. And the sound by Bose. So I kind of held off on this, but either way, before we get to that, IP68. I don't know why this is considered a near flagship. This has got flagship specs. I don't know what they're talking about, but it does have IP68, which is crazy. Now, this has got a symmetrical stereo speaker. So you got a speaker right here and a speaker right here, like most, obviously, right? But interesting enough, this has a built-in subwoofer, and we'll go over that in a second. But this is your screen, built-in screen protector, your front camera right here. On this side, you have power and volume. On this side, nothing. On the bottom, we talked about the speaker grill, USB Type-C, and it looks like a microphone and your SIM. On the top, nothing but the speaker grill. Now, on the back, this is a device, you guys. So it doesn't look flashy. It kind of looks like a 17 Pro Max or Pro with a bigger visor, but the visor's been done and overkilled, so I don't really blame them for that. But in addition to this is Hyper OS 3 built based on Android 16. If you're not a fan of Hyper OS, you may not like this. This is very similar to what you're going to find on a Xiaomi phone, if not the same. Don't want to say completely it's the same because I don't have a Xiaomi right now. And either way, these are your three cameras, and then there's looks like a flash here in the middle. It does look like a periscope, but I'm not sure if it is a periscope. It looks like it might be. And this right here is your subwoofer. Now, this has been said to have the best sound of any smartphone, but temper your expectations if you decide to go with this phone, because yes, it's got a dedicated subwoofer, it's in a thicker part of the phone, but for bass to happen, it needs something to resonate off of. So this might offer a little more depth to your sound, but it's not going to be a subwoofer you have when you were 19 years old in your Honda Civic with 212s in the back. Okay? But it should offer some pretty good sound. Now, I could turn this on and play it for you, but I know as well as you that me just saying, oh my God, it sounds good, it's not going to replace you actually listening to it, and listening it through your speakers isn't going to show or produce what you need to hear. So take it from me, try it out. Now, this is that denim feel, and to me, it's got a like a denim-like feel, but it's rubberized. It's like a rubber feel. What I like about this is not a small phone. So when you hold it in your hand, if you're not wearing it or not rocking a case or an Apple sock, it doesn't slide out of your hands, and that kind of fits where your finger would go. So it fits nice, and your thumb can hit the fingerprint reader. So not a bad device, you guys. For all intents and purposes, this is a flagship phone in disguise of the Poco brand. And I'll be honest, I'm going to say 99.9% of the Poco phones that I have owned have been fantastic. Now, in the US, again, you got to make sure your carrier is supported with bands. I know T-Mobile is generally pretty good with most phones. You might get a notification saying, hey, this is not fully compatible, but they usually don't cut you off. And then AT&T, they can definitely cut you off. It may or may not work. Verizon, probably not. I don't know. I don't have Verizon anymore. But I will say the Realme GT8 Pro did give me a bunch of issues. It worked in the US. It had 4G, but for some reason, the network just stopped working on that phone. And I don't know if it was a malfunction with the hardware of the phone, if it was T-Mobile blacklisting it. I don't think it was, because I called them. But that phone lasted about 22 hours before it pooped out, and I couldn't use it, at least for a cell phone. I could use the phones, I could use the cameras and game and stuff on it and use Wi-Fi, but I could not use cellular service. So now you see the screen is on. You're going to see a little bit here. I'm looking at it straight on, and it looks like for the most part the bezels are even all the way around, but they are a little chunkier, so you're not going to get those slim bezels. But that's a trade-off I think most people are willing to make. And I don't know. Let me just go through this real quick. I want to say this has got an IR. It does have an IR blaster, but it's not on top. So it's probably in one of these little, there's like 3 little holes here you can see from an angle. I'm going to assume it's in the back here. It probably is here. A lot of phones now are putting the IR blaster right here, so you can just like point it straight at your screen instead of having to use like a remote and make it obvious. I guess if you're a spy and you want to screw with people's TVs, I mean, that's one secret way of doing it. But let me know if you want to know more about this phone, if you want more information on this phone, if you want me to go through a full review, camera spec, the camera, the speakers. I'm not going to do that in this video. This was a quick look and unboxing. Hopefully you haven't seen much about this phone yet, and if you have, I'm sorry to bore you. If not, check this phone out, see what you can get for prices, and keep watching my channel. This is Jason with Tuna Tech. We'll catch you later. Peace.